Hello, 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 friends and family. I am so excited that you're here. My name is Shannon Stott, and you are at the Pieces Collective Wisdom, Wellness, and Wealth Monthly Series. And as the opening video was playing, can you believe it dawned on me literally now that this is the first one of the year? The year is going so quickly or so slowly or expanding or shrinking in such a way that I was like, wow, it's the first one. And Pieces Collective is so amazing. Of course, we're right on target with setting our intentions and goals. Of course, we would be doing that. What an amazing group of people I work with, and what an amazing group of people you are here to see. I would love to know where you are joining us from. Please tell me in the comments, in the chat, where you are and how your year is treating you so far, and maybe what your intentions are. Just get your fingers warmed up for now. I want to welcome you again to the Wisdom, Wellness, and Wealth Monthly Series. We are here, yes, with the Pieces Collective, and today we are talking about the power of intention, setting your intention for 2023. We have some amazing panelists. If you have done this before, if you're here for the first time, welcome. If you've done this before, welcome. But you know that we have panelists who talk to and lead us through this discussion, especially to start us on the right foot. The Pieces Collective was founded in 2018. Its goal is to contribute to human development through experiential learning, economics, and education. And I want to introduce you to Ikrama Muhammad, the executive director of the Pieces Collective, and thank her for bringing us all together at the beginning of this year. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Greetings. How are you?
I'm surprised. It's the beginning of the year. I was like, oh, I'm just moving along, but really, it's the beginning of something really special.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
let's just soak it all in, because the next thing you know, we'll be doing the year-end celebration. It'll be like, whoop.
Right? We're not there yet.
We're not there yet. But yeah, I'm glad to be here. Good to see you. Glad everybody else is here as well. The Pieces Collective, on behalf of the Pieces Collective, I'd like to wish you a peaceful and productive 2023. I hope you're off to a good start, and I hope that this program is going to help you continue to be off to a good start, or to get going on a good start, whatever the case may be. So we just observed Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, honoring him for his commitment to equality and justice, and those who also worked and walked with him. Earlier today, here in Maryland, we inaugurated the first Black governor of Maryland, Governor Wesley Watande Omari Moore. So congratulations to Governor Moore. It's often said that we're making a lot of progress. However, progress is subjective. If you consider 55 years ago, we were after the passing of the Voting Rights Act with Dr. King and others that marched for it, we continue to fight for those rights, have to fight for those rights today, even though we thought we had obtained them. So I would be remiss as well if I didn't mention the name of Brother Keenan Darnell Anderson, who was tased to death at the hands of the LAPD January 3rd of this year. So even though we're looking forward to a new year and new happenings and making progress, we have to also consider the hard realities of the challenges that we face. So you could conclude that that progress is not enough. What we need is lasting and real change. So the Pieces Collective is focused on building community that will work consciously and collectively to develop programs and products to help address some of the challenges that we face. So we stand at the intersection of art, economics, education, and service. and we operate in the spirit of self-improvement and self-determination. And in our own way, through the use of traditional handcraft arts, we're working to find and implement solutions. So our goal in 2023 is to continue and help expand some of the programs that we already have. And the first being the Wisdom, Wellness, and Wealth program that you're attending this evening. These programs are curated with the intention to create awareness and raise consciousness, and to inspire people to action. And a new part of the program this year is that all of you who have registered will receive a free workbook related to the topic of the program. So if you've registered, you'll receive that workbook and be able to download it. And if you haven't registered, please register because it's still open, or subscribe to thepiecescollective.org. You can go and do that right away. And then if you subscribe, you'll get all other kinds of goodies. So we hope you will subscribe. So Wisdom, Wellness, and Wealth, we plan on continuing. I'd like to talk just about a few other things. Our weekly walk for wellness. We realize there are persistent disparities in the health and healthcare for Black people. And these disparities are, of course, a result of systemic and structural inequities that are part of racism and discrimination. So we know that there needs to be a lot of education, political and community activism, and things of that nature to make changes and improve that. However, we realize that just by walking 30 minutes a day, you can increase your cardiovascular fitness, strengthen bones, reduce stress, relieve excess body fat, and build muscle and endurance, and develop better outcomes for your health. And that's us taking it into our own hands. It's free. You don't have to ask permission. You don't have to wait in lines. And you don't have to beg anybody, except for maybe somebody that you want to walk with you. But we're really encouraging you to begin to walk with community and walk with family. And this is something in addition to the other things that we can do that we can see immediate change. Shout out to Girl Trek for inspiring 1 million Black women to walk and improve their health. Locally, we meet every Sunday morning and we walk here together, but it's a virtual activity, so you can walk wherever you are with whoever you like. This year, our program will culminate with the 3rd annual Juneteenth 5K Walk for Wellness. So we hope you'll join us in that, and there'll be more information about that as we go further. Second, we're continuing to develop our Resident Maker Leadership Program. We understand that Black unemployment is rising and is consistently higher across all socioeconomic and education levels than any other race. And so we want to do our small part to see how we can address that. We're preparing a curriculum for a cooperatively led maker training experience where we'll work in a collective way to learn about handmaking, handcrafting, business, community service, while supporting each other in the process. Our goal is to grow a community of makers who will have control over the supply chain of the goods that we make from start to finish, and then to use the principle of cooperative economics to provide income benefit for both the individual and the community. And we call that holistic retail. We produce a weekly newsletter called Happiness is Handmade, which you'll receive if you go and subscribe to thepiecescollective.org. And it not only gives you information about the amazing products that our makers create, but it also shares information about actions and activities past and present that will help us move more successfully toward the future. So for more information about any of those programs or to get involved, you can connect with us at thepiecescollective.org, or you can email us at info@thepiecescollective.org, or you can call us at 443-750-1101. So now we're the beginning of the year, and we have all of these ideas and goals and dreams and aspirations. And sometimes the truth is they might not last till February, being on the path to them. But this year is going to be different. But we have to ask the question, why is change so hard? Well, there's probably a lot of reasons, but the two that I think of is that we're comfortable with certainty and we're uncomfortable with the unknown. So we don't really want to move out of our comfort level. And without doing that, there can be no change. So I read that there are 4 reasons people change. Number 1, people change when they hurt enough to have to. People change when they see enough that they're inspired to. People change when they learn enough that they want to. And people change when they receive enough that they are able to. So as we go into our program tonight, I will leave you with this quote from Denzel Washington, because it's Denzel Washington. And the quote is, "Dreams without goals are just dreams, and ultimately they fuel disappointments. On the road to achieving your dreams, you must apply discipline, but more importantly, consistency. Because without commitment, you'll never start. But without consistency, you'll never finish." He goes on to say, "Cure your dreams deferred by taking just one step, then another, then another. You'll be surprised, especially when you have a plan, how sticking to consistency will transform your life." Unquote. So setting your intentions and goals is one step in the road to change. And we are so grateful to have the panelists we have here this evening to share their extensive experience with you. And we hope you enjoy it. We thank you for being here. Peace and love.
And having said that again, think about this day, this coming year coming to an end. A year from now, what will you have harvested? You know, if you practice these principles, what will you have harvested? What will be your harvest in unity, in self-determination, in cooperative economics, collective work and responsibility, in purpose and creativity and faith? What will you have harvested a year from now? So even that, just looking at it that way, is an understanding of what it means to harvest. Harvest doesn't always have to mean going out into the field, planting, and bringing food in. It can mean, and it does mean, going out into the world, planting your seeds of the principles and harvesting them at the end of the year, so that this time next year, your celebration is a celebration of that harvest. And if we were sitting around this table a year from now, we could talk about how we made life different, how we are harvesting things this day that we hadn't a year in the past.
Friends and family, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are going to dive in to our wonderful panelists. Thank you for joining us from Delaware, from Maryland, well, yes, right, from New York, from Belize, from all over. I just want to welcome you. Please keep your fingers nice and warm so that if you have questions or comments for the panelists as we conversate during this hour, or hour and some that that they can answer your questions and comments as well. We would love to hear from you. And you're wondering right now, well, who would I ask these questions to? One person you can ask your question to is Jessica Lightbourne. Jessica Lightbourne created the Bermuda Coaching Network in 2017. As the network CEO, she's committed to spreading awareness in Bermuda about the power of coaching and the impact that it can have on one's personal and professional life. Working with creative, innovative, and community-minded people brings her joy and satisfaction. Jessica, hi.
Hi, Shannon. Good to see you.
It's always good to see you. Welcome. We're so glad you're here.
I'm so glad I'm here. Thank you.
Of course. We also have Cherie Harris, originally a New York native. Cherie Harris is now based in Los Angeles. Utilizing her 25 plus years of experience and skills, she provides business coaching, corporate training, and marketing services, as well as personal development programs to build self-esteem and tools to help you manifest the ideal life you desire. She believes and teaches that you can have it all. Welcome, 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 Cherie.
Hi, Shannon. How are you? Hi, Jessica. Good to see you. Happy New Year and all that jazz.
New Year.
And all that jazz. Happy New Year. So great to have you. And welcome. If you're looking for more people, we have more people. We have Dr. Stephanie Brown. Dr. Brown is an ICF credentialed professional certified coach. She specializes in working with professional women who desire to show up as their best selves and are motivated to overcome whatever is holding them back in reaching their professional and personal goals. Dr. Brown is recognized as a top 1% life coach by Yahoo Finance. Stephanie's coaching philosophy is based on the knowledge that challenging one's thoughts and beliefs is key to shifting our energy, which allows us to move forward with actions that lead to the joy and success that we desire. Welcome, welcome, Dr. Brown.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, Shannon, Jessica, and Cherie.
So glad to have you. We also have Reginald Jackson. Reginald, aka Coach Reggie, is a United States Marine Corps veteran and served on active duty for more than 20 years. His military experience is the foundation of his leadership development expertise and marks the genesis of his commitment to coaching. As a professional certified coach, credentialed by the International Coaching Federation, Coach Reggie's clients range from emerging leaders to senior executives in the public and private sectors. Creating a space for reflection and introspection allows for life-changing results that impact the client, inspiring them to become change agents at work, at home, and in their community. Coach Reggie, welcome.
Good evening, Shannon, and hello, ladies. Glad to be here, and I look forward to our fantastic discussion.
Yes, it will be fantastic. I'm excited because every time I do this, I'm excited. We always have amazing people. We're talking about stepping on the path today. We're at the very beginning of the year. We're trying to maybe we've moved away from some paths that we had set. We tried to pat them down or forge a path, but maybe it's overgrown and we're just trying to get back on it. And I'm wondering for you all, and for you in the chat, I want you to answer this question. What are some rituals that you all have around creating these paths, creating intentions? What are some rituals that you have around creating intention? I'll start with you, Coach Reggie, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. Careful, because once I get started, it's a little bit difficult to stop me.
This is where we are.
That's a great question. And when we talk about rituals, that typically means something that we find as a go-to, something we've done in the past, something that we honor. And so one of the rituals for me, most importantly, is to embrace my humanity. I won't always get it right. I won't always be the best, but showing up and making sure that I am being present in who I am and where I am is what I find is most important, because I may be the oldest of us here,
And one of the things that has come into my consciousness just in the last several years is not from a morbid standpoint, but from the reality is that our time here is limited. And so taking advantage of that time is what's so important. And so the ritual of honoring my humanity allows me to, or embracing my humanity, allows me to experience the range of emotions, because I used to compartmentalize and not share and suck it up, right? Because that's one of the things that we were taught, just suck it up. And that's anything that is not allowed to come out will do so on its own more often than not when you least expect it. And so by embracing my humanity, that is definitely a ritual that has paid off in dividends for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go. One of the rituals that I have is every morning when I wake up, before I get out of bed, I set an intention. And sometimes it's just as simple as, just declaring that it's going to be a great day, or just declaring that I'm going to rejoice in the day. So it's a ritual because it's something that I do every day. And it just reminds me to be intentional throughout the day. So it's a small thing, but it's one of the rituals that helps keep me in the mindset of being intentional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things you said it's a small thing, and it's just inspiring to remember that the small thing grows into this larger idea of setting your intention for the day. It actually sparks and inspires the rest of your day and how it might go. So that little step can make such a difference. Yeah.
I'll jump in.
Mhm.
My response is going to be just slightly different, if that's okay. I'm going to talk about how I actually end a year and bring in the new year. And this is something that I've been doing as a child, and I do it praying. And it's about 45 minutes to 30-minute process where I begin to just, thank my Lord and Savior for the previous year or for the year that's ending, for all the things that I've come through. So many times there's so many blessings that we have, right? And they come and they go and they come and they go, and we thank them real time. But if you really look at them as a whole, it's like, wow, And then I really go into asking for everything that I want for the coming year. And I've taken the time, like throughout the whole month, of thinking about, what do I really want to have? And then I ask for it. And then I start my year that I already have it, And so that's something that I've been doing for God as long as I can remember. And it just works for me. It's like I always ask for the plan. I take myself out of it and I ask for the plan.
I love that. So good. I'm just sitting here realizing how much ritual I have in my mornings and my evenings and my months, and it's kind of an amalgamation of what everybody said. When I wake up in the morning, and it probably sounds like a lot, but when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is go to the scriptures, and I have this acronym that I use called SOAP. So I do my spiritual cleansing using SOAP. S stands for scripture, so I read the scripture. O stands for observation. So what did I see in the scripture for me? A stands for application. How am I going to actually apply what I've just observed? And then P ending in prayer so that I can actually ask my higher power to support me in my intention. And then I journal, a flow of consciousness, 3 pages of just everything that's in my head. Do some gratitude, and then I, like Dr. Stephanie, create an I am statement. And it could be whatever I choose. It might be I am Michelle Obama today, and it might be, I am a Black Panther stalking through, the grass, and from there, it's so powerful because I can be whatever I want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In the chat, we have Akil, who is saying moon signals, using the monthly phases of the moon to set, monitor, and conclude my intentions. Wonderful, wonderful. There are so many ways, right, to to set intentions. And can you all talk about the importance of intention? So we're going to move back even further from just like, all right, let's set intentions together, right? It is possible, I guess, to wake up, not have any intention for your day or your year, and just go where the wind takes you. Tell me about the pros, cons of setting intentions versus just living by the freedom of your pants. Talk to us about the importance of setting intentions.
I'll go. I start with, after I come out of my prayer as a year come in, I start with setting a theme for my life every year. And this year's theme I will share is go hard in the paint. Like, that's my theme this year. A lot of things were revealed to me last year. And so everything that I'm asking for, I can see that it's at arm reach. So now it's up to me to go hard in the paint. And so that as my theme, all of my intentions fall underneath that. So along with the daily intentions that I do, my journaling, a lot of things that everyone talked about, praying, I do all those things as well. But it's important for me to align my goals, if you will, or my intentions with that go hard in the paint. How aggressive am I going to be? How ready am I to step outside of myself, to ignore my fears, to just do it? Like Nike says, just do it. Sometimes we overthink things, and we can completely think out and talk ourselves completely out of our own blessings. So for me, it's kind of like less thinking. I'm smart enough. I've strategized enough, and just do it, because I did all that last year. You know what I mean? I put all the things in place, and now it's just like, let's just do it. Be aggressive. And so that's how important my intentions are. I'm intentionally setting my goals to just do it. And that's just a little scary. I'm not going to say that it's not scary. It's a little scary, because I want to be like, oh, I don't know. But then it's just like, nope, you said you were just going to do it. You know what I mean? It's like, so everything for me kind of umbrellas up to the theme from my life.
When you asked that question, what came to mind for me, Shannon, is that if you don't know where you're going, any road will do. So if you're not intentional about where you're going, you'll end up where you end up. So I think that the reason that it's important to set intentions is because you want to end up with a life full of purpose and joy and good things. And so, not saying that that wouldn't just happen organically, but typically when you have somewhere that you want to go, a goal, a dream, you need to be intentional to actually get there. So I think that that's what the importance of intentions is. And then earlier today, it's interesting you asked this question. I was thinking about inspired action versus planned action. And for inspired action, that's when you just feel something in your gut and it's in alignment with your goals and what you want to do, and you do it. And then you have planned action where you kind of looked at your goals and come up with strategies and sort of plan the action. And I believe that you can have both. So you can have the spontaneous inspired action, but it's still in alignment with your goals and where you want to go. So you still need intentions, even for the spontaneous stuff as well as the planned stuff. Or at least that's my opinion.
Yeah, Cherie, you mentioned this a little while ago, and Dr. Stephanie, you also echoed alignment. And so first we have to set an intention, which means we have to know what we want. And the word says you have not because you ask not. So what do you want? And there's a big difference between commitment and interest. We can be interested in a lot of things, and that's okay. But our interests change. Our commitment more often than not remains the same. It's something that we truly are connected to. And if we aren't quiet enough, but Jessica, you mentioned soap, if we're not quiet enough to hear our intention that comes out as a commitment, we will never reach alignment. However, when we align our focus with our intention, the goal is always met.
Yeah, I like that.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, I like
So
that.
good. When I think about intention, I think about it and how important it is. I'm thinking about the difference between um, being responsible and creator. So being a leader and creating circumstance versus being a victim of
Mm.
circumstance.
Mm.
So when you're intentional, you are actually creating your life. If you don't set intentions, you're basically reacting to what's coming to you. And when you're intentional, you actually become the authority. You actually are co-creating what happens next. It is the difference between being empowered and disempowered.
Yeah, you're talking about the co-creating. Can you talk more? Can everyone talk more about that a little bit?
Yeah, for me, and we've talked about this. I heard Dr. Stephanie talking about, or at least in her introduction, talking about language and what we say.
Mm.
And so when we're setting an intention and when we're saying, I am, or I will do this by then, you are actually setting off something, spiritually, mentally, in your subconscious and, consciously, then telling the world, telling yourself what is going to happen next.
Mm-hmm.
I am statements become a declaration.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Something as simple as I am making dinner. I am going to, call Shannon. I am going to finish X, right? And when you follow through, that intention continues to create power, just like Jessica said.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other thing, we probably just haven't said the word, I think we're all saying it, is manifestation. So the power of setting intentions is that what you harvest from it, we saw the video about harvesting, is what you're manifesting. So I think that it's hard to manifest anything that you desire without setting the intention, without making the I am statement, without declaring it, without putting it out into the universe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So for people who are watching this later, right, who aren't already on board, can you all talk a little bit, dispel the wooiness of manifestation, right? Because someone out there is going to say manifestation. You just have to dig your nose in deep and work really hard and just keep on keeping on. It's willpower is going to push you through. You can't just manifest things. What do you say to them? What are we talking about here when we're talking about manifestation?
Well, I'm a physician, so I'm a scientist. And one of the things is that if you look at studies, they will show you that there is evidence, scientific evidence, that your thoughts can create outcomes. So they've done studies with people who were ill and people who had positive thoughts or who prayed or who meditated. And they got the same medications, but they had better outcomes than people who didn't do those things. So I think it is a scientific thing that what you think you produce. So when I think about manifestation, that's how I think about it. I think about the power of your thoughts to create feelings that then create actions that then produce an outcome. And sometimes you don't see all the steps in between, but if you continue to at least focus on the thoughts and the feelings, you will manifest the outcome. So that's how I think of it.
The power of manifestation is so much greater than people give credit for because you can also manifest what you don't want without
Ooh.
even realizing it.
Hmm.
One of the first things that comes to mind, and ladies, I mean no harm because it works both ways. I don't want no good man. What do you end up with? Or I'm not looking for a woman that fill in the blank, right? And I'm being a little light about it. However, the things that we say we don't want is what we are focused on. And so the power of intention, when it is careless and reckless, will still present a result, just one you didn't desire.
No, it's that's so true. You know, one of the things that I tell a lot of my clients, and one of these, what I live by is, we say what we think is what we do is what we ultimately become. It's really just that simple. And with the I am statements and everything that we are all nodding our heads to and on this panel, it all starts with your mouth, your brain, and your heart. And if you don't have that in alignment, or however you have it aligned, I should say, however you have that aligned is what you will have. You know, for me, I manifest through faith. People say all different types of things, you know, but I believe that if I ask for something and I know that I can have it, then as of that moment, I have it. I haven't met it yet, but I have it. I'm just waiting to get to the journey until I meet it, but I will meet it. And I've done that time and time again. But I'm very intentional about how I speak life into that. You know, like Coach Reggie said, you can speak either life or death. You have life or death is in the power of the tongue. And so we have to be very intentional about how we talk about the things that we desire. Because if you're saying, if you want health and you're saying, you know, well, my mama had high blood pressure, my daddy had high blood pressure. Well, you know what, baby girl, now you got high blood pressure. But if you say, I'm not getting it, I'm ending that right here. I'm going to, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to go to the physician. I'm going to take my blood pressure medication if I need to. You know what I mean? Like, that's your intention in action. And then that's how you counteract that. So I'm very intentional about you making sure that what I'm thinking is what I'm saying, because those two things are going to make me push me through to do it. And that's what I want to become.
Okay, we're getting it. We're getting it. Talk to me about motivation, right? Because this is my job, y'all. I want to support you, but I know that there's a person out there who's like, well, what about, right? And it's not me. It's obviously not me. But for the person who's out there and they say, well, when I say something like, I'm going to exercise, I'm putting in intention towards exercise, and then their motivation dwindles. And then they say, well, I'm not motivated to do it. It must not be for me. I'm tired today, so I guess I'll take a nap. Talk to us about that. Talk to us about motivation when it dwindles. How do we stay on the path?
Why are you in my business about exercise? I mean, I'm just.
Coach Reggie is here. Coach Reggie is here.
Okay, so here's not my reality, because it's not me saying this, because I've heard this all too often. It's the reality. Motivation is overrated. You're not always going to be motivated. I worked out this morning, not because I was motivated, but because I was disciplined. That's the difference between a commitment and an interest. Are you serious about whatever it is, right? It doesn't have to be exercise. Are you serious about it? Do you really mean it? Or are you fooling yourself and is it lip service? Now, having said that, and I think Dr. Stephanie, you mentioned this, or maybe Cherie, but somebody here, I heard it earlier this evening, was one thing. Right? If you change one thing and celebrate that, and through regularity and consistency, that will create the habit. And the commitment is what drives the discipline. The discipline drives the commitment, right? Cherie talked about alignment. Once you respect the discipline, the motivation will come. The motivation is the byproduct, it's not the driver.
Yeah.
So I'll jump in. I I just did a workshop on the weekend, and it was all about goal setting and setting intentions. Tis the season. And one of the things that the scientists, say, the evidence shows that actually systems and structures beat out willpower every time. Creating systems and structures, getting structures that hold you accountable, whether it be a personal trainer or a coach or a pastor, or things that you create yourself, right? Calendars, I could go on and on, alarms, accountability buddies, groups. Those are the things that actually make us shift our habits. It might even be something as simple as a cue, right? You want to eat more fruits and vegetables, but if they're in the fridge, you don't see them. But if you put them in a bowl on your, dining table, it's there right in front of you, easy to. You don't have to be motivated. You don't have to have the willpower. You've now created a system or a structure. Even as something like a print and post, I do this a lot with my clients, something visual to remind you. Those are the things that are going to support you when your willpower is waning. Those are the things that are actually going to help you to, once you fall off the horse, get back on again. Because breakdowns come before breakthroughs, and you can expect breakdowns. Right? Not a mental breakdown, but like a flat tire. What happens when we have a flat tire? You don't throw away the car. You fix the flat, or you change the tire, and then you move on. And that is part of the process. Part of the process is you're not going to feel like it, and so you put other things in place so that you keep on going in towards the direction of your goal.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering personally for all of you, what does keep you motivated? Can you, when you are working on motivation, what are some of the things that personally keep you motivated?
Well, I love what Coach Jessica just said, because that's so true. This year, I've been full-time entrepreneur, and so I have people that I work with. So I have a wonderful virtual assistant, and then I have some other people that help me, because I know those people have deadlines. I have deadlines, and I'm responsible to them to get things to them on time. It keeps me motivated and on track. So I produced more in this 1 year. It's not because I had more time, but it's because I had accountability. I was accountable to them to have things done. And so I had to kind of get myself in a rhythm. And now I'm in a routine and a rhythm of what I need to do and when I need to do it. But it took a good 9 months for me to get into that rhythm. But having them, when can I get this from you? When can I get that from you? When can I get this from you? Kind of helped, that system helped get me there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see Claudia in the chat is saying motivation doesn't last, but discipline is a lifestyle. Yes. As I'm listening to all of you, it sounds like there is yes to motivation, but really this discipline is carrying that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just had a thought as well around what keeps me motivated, and honestly asking the question, why am I doing this? Like, what is my why? Like, what is the reason that I want to lose 50 pounds, whatever, right? I think if you get really really real to and really connected to the reason why you're even embarking on this journey, it helps to flip you back into, oh yeah, I forgot, like I want to see my grandkids, I want to I want to be able to dance freely, I don't want to ache when I get out of bed, right? Getting really present to your why is a really great motivator.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I'm just kind of piggybacking off of what everyone has said, is that number one, New Year's resolutions, they just don't work. And the only reason why I'm going to say that is because we think that 12:59 to that 1:00, or whatever it is, 11:59 to that 12:00, we're different people. Poof, and we're just not. Now it's okay to set
We're not.
Set goals, but we're just not, And so creating intentional disciplines, like Coach Reggie said, and baby stepping your way each day, doing something different, sitting back and saying, okay, for 12 months, this just didn't work. All of these things that I did I did nothing. Okay. So how can I do one thing differently than I did yesterday? And get used to and comfortable in doing that. So it's just giving yourself a little grace. And then, Shannon, answering your question, what do you do or how do you stay motivated? On those moments when, let's just say, you don't want to exercise, be kind to yourself, but then be real with yourself too. You could be tired. You could have been traveling. You could not be feeling well. I mean, the coulds could be real, right? But then you want to make sure that now you're not creating or you're not feeding another habit or an old habit. So just really having a conversation with yourself saying, okay, this is what I did before and I didn't lose that weight, girl. Come on, let's do something a little bit different. Let's push ourselves a little bit harder. I know you're tired, you know what I mean? But something like I said, for me, go hard in the pain is like, get your butt up. Okay, and let's just get it done. I don't care how you feel. Let's get it done. But that's my thing. I'm not suggesting that for everyone because I did the lazy thing already, and I'm still carrying around this loveliness. So, it's just really saying to yourself, okay, I want to do something different.
Yeah. Because all of us have a body, right? That's the one thing we all have in common, along with other things. And Dr. Stephanie, being a physician and a scientist and a person of medicine, understands this neurologically and physiologically. And I'll talk about exercise for just a moment. When we exercise with regularity and consistency, there are certain hormones that are excreted on a regular basis, right? Like dopamine, serotonin, and those feel good, hormones. Then we start feeling better. And then we notice, the scale drops a pound or two, or, for men, like the belt, like there's another notch there, or the jeans or the dress, right? And so there's this slight evidence that shows you what you're doing is working. So there's the physical, right? But there's also the physiological. And so that feels good to you. And it becomes wash, rinse, repeat. And no, there's nothing wrong with love handles. Because we all want something to hold on to, right? Like the old heads say, number the dog.
No, we're not doing that. Nope. Right? Nope. Sorry. Nope. It is my intention that we don't talk about my love handles. Sorry.
Right. Yes, we're gonna steer away from other people's love handles.
No, sir, no,
steer
ma'am.
away from it. But we won't steer away from this. There are goals that all of you have set that you haven't met. What do we do in those situations? The want is to, you said it, Jessica, when the car gets a flat tire, we don't throw the car away, right? But we tend to do those things. We tend to say, well, I didn't get that job. You know what? Maybe that whole dream is down the toilet. I'm going to do this other thing, or whatever it is that we do. So when we come up against these, when we put out a goal for ourselves or an intention for ourselves, it doesn't seem like we've met it. How do we navigate that?
With self-love, I think that, Coach Reggie started off by embracing his humanity. Part of being a human being is that we may aspire to things that we may not achieve at that point in time. Maybe it wasn't the perfect timing. Maybe there were other priorities that took precedence. Maybe we weren't as focused as we needed to, but we're human and that happens. So love yourself, forgive yourself, and just set the goal again, move it on. I mean, every week, I probably have things that I want to accomplish that I don't get everything accomplished. I move it to the next week. And it doesn't mean that I'm not moving towards my goal. It just means that the goal is now next week instead of this week.
Yeah, it's true. I actually spoke to some high schoolers on goal setting. Jessica, it's that time of year. You mentioned that earlier. And that was interesting enough. It was one of the questions they asked. And Dr. Stephanie, very similar to what you said, I said, well, you make it a goal for next year. But what I added, because they are so young, I added to them, well, was it a real goal for you? Was it a goal that was relevant then that may not be relevant now? Did your interests change? And just because we're not high schoolers, our interests change, right? Our directions change. And so sometimes we have to look at that, especially when we're setting goals top of the year with intention. Why didn't I do that? Well, I wasn't really into it as much as I thought I would be. I didn't really enjoy it as much as I had anticipated enjoying it. I didn't really allot the time, necessary to do this completely. And then, really making that assessment and deciding, okay, well, can I make those slight changes to make it happen this year? So that's how I look at it. When I don't meet something, is going back to exercise, for example, it was like, well, what did I just not make the time for it? Do I not like exercising? What were my goals too aggressive? So that made it unpleasant. So trying to make them as doable as possible. I think that helps, because we do shift gears. Life happens. And like Dr. Stephanie said, we are human. And sometimes life happens out of our control, right? Something could happen in our family or whatever that could really change the course of our direction. And so really looking back at your goal list and saying, oh, wow, I forgot I even wrote that goal. You know what I mean? It's like, I forgot about that. And assessing, do I still want to do it?
Yeah, when I think of intention, it also makes me think about determination. And for those of us who have children, and we may even remember when we were children, I'm talking like 2 or 3 or maybe 4. If there was something you wanted, on a cabinet or behind that closed door, whatever, right? And just from sheer curiosity, not from being told don't do so and so, but just from sheer curiosity and determination, that child is going to do everything within their power to get there, or to get that thing, or to do that thing. And they may not even know that it's dangerous or it's beyond their reach or what have you, because that's not their concern. Now, I'm not suggesting, that we do things that are dangerous or that we may be hurt. But somewhere along the way, we convince ourselves that we don't have the ability, or it is beyond our reach, or it's not worth it, and we give up. And then we make excuses, myself included. We all fall victim to that. And each one of us has mentioned some system, some structure that we've put in place. And it certainly doesn't mean that we're not affected by it, but we know it works because we've executed it ourselves. We've demonstrated that we understand how powerful these things are. And the only way you'll know that is to do it yourself.
How do you stay in the mindset of curiosity and moving forward, in the yes mindset, because it is so easy to get stuck in the no or the fear mindset? How do we stay in that yes?
Sometimes you don't. That's the reality. Sometimes you don't.
I have a quote that I like to think about, that you'll be the same place you are now in the next 5 years, except for the content you consume, the connections that you make, and the books that you read. So I believe that it's really important to be around other people who have a positive, abundant mindset, because that feeds you. I believe it's important to consume things that are positive and that allow you to expand and not to contract. And reading books, I think, is something that, a lot of times we forget to do or don't have time to do. But I think that that's another way that you can stay in that mindset. In addition to all of the routines and the practices, like you mentioned with soap, reading your scriptures, meditating, those things help you stay in the mindset. But yeah, you're gonna fall out, and then it's a matter of knowing how to get back in.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point. That's what I was kind of leaning towards, those same thoughts. What I would say is get supported, get connected to your higher power. That's positivity straight away. Get connected to your tribe, the people who understand you, who know what you need, and who inspire you. And then, yeah, get connected to yourself. And I think, you know, one of the things that's always helped me, one of my structures, is asking the question, um, is the action that I'm about to take based on love or based on fear? Because scarcity mindset is just fear, and abundance mindset is just passion or love. And so if we just keep on asking ourselves, am I making this decision based on passion and love, or am I basing it on fear and scarcity? And I think that can shift your action, which can actually reinforce once you realize, once you see the result. And Coach Reggie talked about that. Even if you see a tiny result, it is so motivating. And I think the ritual of consistently stopping and asking yourself and regrouping and reflecting can shift you from that no to that yes and so can improv, by the way. It's a great way to practice.
I agree. I wonder if you all could talk a little bit about the actually setting goals. So as we're at the beginning now of like, okay, how do we set these intentions, and how do we set them so that they're reasonable and we can bite off these small pieces, like you're talking about, taking small steps. Talk to us about the pitfalls that people fall into when they set intentions, and how to better start setting intentions.
Well, I'll start. So I think of intentions as being sort of like your broad, um, what you want to attract to yourself broadly. And I think of goals as being more specific. So from that intention comes your goal. Um, and when you're setting a goal, I believe it needs to be time anchored. When would you like to achieve this goal by? And then I kind of drill down to strategies. What are the strategies in order to complete that goal? And then down to tactics, which are the things that you do on a daily and a weekly basis to execute the strategies. So that is a comprehensive way of looking at it, but I like to take just a few goals at a time and just bite-sized things. So those tactics may just be one or two things that you're doing in a week, but you know that because they're connected to your strategies, connected to your goals, and connected to your intentions, that if you do those one or two things every day or every week, or that you're going to get where you want to go. You will reach your destination because you have taken the time to plan it out and make sure that it's in alignment.
For the excuse me, for the acronym lovers, you know, back to what Dr. Stephanie just mentioned, there's SMART goals: specific, measurable, was it actionable?
Yeah.
Realistic, and time-based.
Time-based.
And so there's another acronym I like to use that comes before that, and that's ACAR, which is awareness, choice, action, responsibility. We get into the mindset of doing, and Jessica's going to start smiling because she knows what I'm about to say. We also need to consider being, like who we are being. And the way for us to actually discover that is to first do nothing. Just create awareness about what's around us. And then the C is choice. Then from the awareness, we come up with a list of choices. I could do this, I could do that, I could do the other thing. Then the second A is action. Take action on the choice that you selected from the awareness you created. And then R, Jessica talked about this earlier, be responsible, right? Be responsible in the action you've taken from the choice you made through the awareness you created. And from there, you now have your intention, right? High level, which you then capsulize into a goal and then follow smart.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. For me, what I like to do and what I instruct you to do is you write your goals out. You go as big as you want to go. Pick your top three, trickle them down, just like Dr. Stephanie said. You go into your goals. And then before you say, okay, this is what I'm doing, take some time to digest that. So again, we started out with exercise, right? That's all the biggest thing of the year. So you say you're going to exercise 3 times a day. Well, does your schedule allows that? Have you looked at your calendar to make that happen? Have you put that in? What time of day you're going to do it? Does that work for you? Don't say you're going to get up at 5:30 in the morning because girl, it ain't happening. You know what I mean? No, but I'm serious. It's like because we all have these really great intentions and things, but we have to go a little bit further. Now you've got to build the space for this to happen. So I'm always looking at everything and saying, okay, I don't know where I'm going to find the time to do this. Maybe instead of 3 times a day, maybe it's 3 hours, whatever. I have to kind of trickle it down. But really looking at your lifestyle, if you're a mom, is that in your window? Can you do certain things? When can you do those certain things? Mm-hmm. And I think that that's what happened oftentimes when, Shannon asks, how do you stay motivated? Or what happens when you lose that motivation? Or what happens when you do set a goal? I try, because I've had so many failed goals in my life, and I'm sure all of us can say, yes, we didn't achieve certain goals. And my approach to be a little bit different is say, okay, now I have to check me now. Okay, this looks great. This looks great on paper, but now I got to really do a self-check and say, okay, what do I need to do in my life to change this? What adjustments do I need to make this happen? So if I open up a window, let's say to exercise every night, and I don't do it, then I got to go call Dr. Stephanie because I need some sessions because something else is going on with me, but now I can't say I don't have the time. Does that make sense? So really opening up to create a space for your success. If it's, I'm going to be more organized, okay, well, what do you need to do? Is there a room in your house that you can now alter to have this space? Do you need to have a budget to buy things for what do you need to, you don't just give yourself a flat goal because you will fall flat. How do you break that down to something that's really tangible? Creating that space for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And that's made me think about, that idea of baby steps, because we really can create very sort of minute, distinct steps. It might be, okay, well, I don't have $100 a month to save, but I want to start saving or investing. Start at $5, start at $1. It's just the starting that is helpful. Okay, I don't have a whole hour to clean out my basement. Start with 5 minutes. It's enough. And what happens, what's predictable if you say, I'm going to do it for 5 minutes, what's predictable is you actually end up spending an hour, because a lot of times it's the starting that is the hardest bit. And so, when we work with our clients, at least for me, oftentimes I'll give an activity, or I'll support them in creating a very low gradient, a very small step. But what is predictable then again is that small step will spiral into something much bigger and much more impactful as there are successes.
I'd love you all to talk about something that I feel like we don't talk about, and which is the time it takes to actually set intentions and goals. When we, at the beginning of the year or the end of the year, when we have these parties like vision board parties, for instance, or we get the journal that's like 4 pages long. It's not very long, and it just, page 1, set your goals. Page 2, how long will it take? It's very simple. And in 20 minutes, we've set 102 goals for the year, and we're like, yes, yes, I'm going to do this. It's going to be great. Tomorrow, I'll be different. Can you talk about it? It takes a long time to finish, to even get to be on the path to your intention. But what about the time it should take to actually create the intentions?
That's a good question. I have I sort of explained my system, and so I created a planner around that system. And I have a coaching group that I work with, and they were like, "Oh yeah, do a session, show us how to use this planner." And I did the session, and most of the people were like, "Oh my gosh, that is overwhelming. It's going to take too much time." But I said, well, just start with one thing. You don't have to do all of it. Start with one thing. And I got feedback from 3 people who actually took the time to do it. One person, it took her a day. It took her a day, but she had all of her goals planned, all of her strategies. And then what she found worked for her was taking the tactics and putting them in Microsoft Outlook. She said there's a great system that works for her. So she adapted it, but she did commit the time, and she was thrilled with the outcome. And then I had another person who actually did it, and it took them about half a day. So it did take time, and it takes me time when I do it. I have a little thing on my door that says, "Do not disturb planning in progress." I put the little sign on my door, I close the door, I get my tea, I get my water, and I love it. Like, I love sitting here and planning because I know I'm creating my future by investing this time. I'm deciding which way this road is going to go instead of doing all of this where I would waste more time than I'm spending planning. So it does take time.
Yeah, words are powerful and words are magic. And I'm a bit of a word geek, and the base word of intention is intent. And if you think of it visually, intent, I am enclosing myself to allow myself to spend time with myself, for myself. And the ION, right? That's the action. In our intention, like Dr. Stephanie said, it takes time. And if it's not something you're accustomed to, you have no idea how long it will take. Mm-hmm. But trust and believe, if you don't take the time, you'll never know.
That's good. I was taking notes. I'm in session. that is good. I will add, it like Dr. Stephanie said, everyone has their own measure. It should take as long as it needs to take, because I feel as though you need to really digest it. Going back to all the different things that I've said, are you committed to doing this? Have you created a space to doing this? All these different things, especially if it's something that you failed at in the past. So really taking that time to just sit down and look at yourself and say, okay, am I really serious about this? Or even how do I get serious? I want to do this. Sometimes people really want to accomplish something and they just don't know how to get there. And then that's when I say you have to just raise your hand and ask for outside help. Yes. Any one of us in these boxes to help them get there, because we've gone through that, right? We know what it is to fail and come out of it and come on the other side. And we've put different systems in place. We're not perfect, but we have some systems in place that kind of help you with your success. But I just think that it really don't rush it. Don't write 300 goals. Don't do all that. Don't do it. Really sit down and say, okay, what can I really accomplish? What do I really want to happen this year? Just like Jessica said, I want to save X amount of money by the end of the year, but I'm not a saver. I mean, real is real. I like to, not me personally, I'm just saying, we want to go out and buy the bags or whatever. Okay, so instead of buying 5 bags this year, I'll just buy 1. That's a win, right? So if you take the rest of the money and you save it. So I think, to answer the question, it needs to take as long as it needs to take in order for you to fully digest it and be committed to it. Yeah.
Research shows that it takes anywhere from 21 to 66 days to create a habit.
Mm-hmm.
And the length of time, more often than not, is based on the habit you're overwriting. If it's something that's entrenched, or even worse, if it's something that this memory was created by an event of trauma, however large or small, it's going to take more time because there's more damage to heal from. And Cherie mentioned it. We've all mentioned it. Structure, community. There are some things we can't do on our own. We just can't. And there's no shame in that. And so whether it's a coach, a pastor, a therapist, your brother, your auntie, big mama, whoever it is, right? And it's always going to be more than one. Right. Always going to be more than one. If you're blessed to have many, that is a blessing. But we are social creatures, and that is what we thrive on. And Jessica, I know you were going to say something, so I'll stop there.
But it was so good. You don't have to stop. I was just, I think of goal setting and planning and intentions as an iterative process. I don't think you ever stop. So whereas I might create sort of the projects or the BHAGs, the big, hairy, audacious goals for the beginning of the year. I also have weekly structures. I also have daily structures of revisiting those goals to see if I learned something, if I need to pivot, if I need to tweak it, if, my goals for, so one of the things I do for weekly is what are the roles that are important for me this week? And what are the goals attached to those roles? Because it'll change. 1 week, my role is to focus on my child, right? My child and maybe, my business. But then the next week, it might be, I don't know, finances and vacation or something else, so each week I might have a different role. And so it's an iterative process, right? You're learning as you go, you're tweaking as you go. And so somebody in the chat, Elaine, said something brilliant. She said, we have to recognize that we are worth the time to invest in ourselves. So just like, Coach Cherie said, it takes as long as it takes. And, it's going to be different for everyone, and what structures support one person might be different for another. It could take, one of my other structures is, what are my top 3 things for the day, related to my projects or related to my goals? Just 3. That's going to take not even 5 minutes to identify that, right? Yeah.
You're talking there, just a little bit of talking about community. I've heard just like leaning on community. And Ikrama has this lovely question: how can we use intention setting to make change in our communities?
Wow. Pressure there.
Oh, that's
sorry.
Well, I sense that we all we're all loving people who all want goodness and greatness for our communities. I think that's why we do what we do. We do it on the micro level and we do it on the macro level. My vision. So I think what I do is I get in touch with my vision, and my vision, my mission is coaching for everyone everywhere, because I know that provides access to well-being in every way, financial well-being, physical well-being, mental well-being. So that question of how can we use that for our communities is really sort of natural for me, because that is my mission and my vision, is creating access so that people can understand what their purpose is in life and what their big, hairy, audacious goal is, and how they can use their their power to do that. I think it's one conversation at a time. It's connecting heart to heart. It's being the change. That's how we can help our communities, by taking responsibility and manifesting and being the creator, being the leader. And I have it that we're all leaders. At a minimum, we're leaders of our own lives. And so, yeah, heart to heart, one person at a time, one group at a time.
I definitely want to piggyback on what you said about community. And to me, the most important thing is to first be connected to your gifts.
Mm.
And your gifts will lead you to how you can impact your community. I have no question that for me, one of my gifts is coaching. And so whether it's mentoring, training, working with clients, I know that the downstream impact of those actions from my being will have limitless, I don't even know what word I want to use, but the domino effect is insurmountable. It's unquantifiable. And we don't have to be on this huge platform to evoke change, through hundreds or thousands of people. A lot of times it can only happen with one, and then each one becomes 2 and 4 and 8 and so on.
Yeah. I love what you both just said. And I think it starts with just being intentional about wanting to impact our communities. I think
Mm.
sometimes we are intentional about what we want for ourselves and what we want maybe for our families, but we don't necessarily set that intention for our communities. So now that we've had this conversation, everybody probably will set that. And some of us are naturally, community focused, but I think we can all set an intention towards our communities because we all want our communities to be healthier and happier and safer and to grow and to thrive. But just, take that first step and set that intention.
Mhm.
Yeah, we all go through whatever it is that we go through in this life, I believe, to help others, be it good, be it bad, right? And so, for example, when I started my business, I started it during COVID, and there were so many COVID businesses that were born, people getting laid off and things like that. And I realized that there were so many people out there in our community who weren't it's a little bit older, the mature group, that were very apprehensive about, say, becoming a speaker because they've never done it before. One of the things that I do with them is I go through all of their experience, not just their job experience. Did you volunteer? Did you do this? Were you in a PTA member? All these different things. And I'm like, well, on this platform, you were a speaker. You spoke, you've done it. And so they start to see it in a different light. And so, like Coach Reggie said, I feel like I have that gift of bridging those gaps for people and really letting people know that you can create your own space in this world. You can create a business. You do have something to offer. Let's just pull it out. Let's just dig through it. Let's just pull it out. Let me show it to you. See, here it is. Now, what can we do with that? And so I think that as more people in our community feel confident that they have people who are willing to give them a knowledge branch, to share their experiences, to just help to show them how to get there. Other communities do it, right? Other communities will hold you by the hand step by step and will show you, nope, you do this first, you do this second, you go talk to this person, I've called that person for you, you wear this, you say that, right? We need to do that. And on the flip side of that, in terms of the community receiving said instruction, is be the receiver. Be open to the lessons. Be open to hear the instruction without, it could be a little bit uncomfortable. But if you look at someone that's coming from a place of success and these are the things that they've done to get there, why wouldn't you want to emulate? So I think it works both ways. We could be giving as much as we want to, but we could also be talking to a lot of dead seeds. So we want to make sure that what we're pouring into, going back to the original video, is that something that is going to be able to cultivate and going to be able to grow, because our time is important too. And not everybody wants to be helped, right? So if this person doesn't want to get help, we got to move on to the next person in the community. But don't let that person stop your mission. It just wasn't for them. Let's keep it going.
Cherie, I got to tell you, you just said something that was so insightful, and it ties back to the video that we saw at the top of the hour. And if you don't sow seeds, you will have nothing to harvest. Even if it's just one.
Just one.
Right. And depending on the seed, it may be the type of seed that multiplies as it grows. We never know.
I am really sensing, we've come back to this theme multiple times, and the theme is one, like one step, one small step, one seed, one change, one. And I wonder if you all can talk about it's hard feeling. That's hard. It's too hard. Talk to us about that mentality, even in the midst of saying, just all I'm asking is for you to do one small thing.
Well, I think a lot of us have maybe read or heard this saying that life is hard. You get to choose your hard, right? Do you want to choose the hard of not reaching your goal or fulfilling your dream? Or do you want to choose the hard of doing the one small thing every day that turns into two things that gets you to your dream? So you get to choose your hard. And the other thing about the it's hard is we get to choose our thoughts too. So, it's hard could be a thought of, wow, is this an exciting challenge? Or so I just try to reframe everything to make it as exciting and fun and not scary and hard. So you can choose your hard and you could choose your thoughts about how you think about it.
It's hard because we say it is. Right. And to your point, Dr. Stephanie, we choose our hard. So the hard is either something we see as undoable, unwinnable, unsomething, right? Unmanageable. We can see that as hard. Or this may be a challenge, however, right? Or an improv. Yes, and. What is beyond, right? What is beyond this initial pitfall, roadblock, speed bump, chasm? That's what makes the difference, right? Dr. Stephanie, is how do we see it? And it's hard because we say it is only because we're not seeing past it.
Will you all talk about, okay.
Come on, Shannon.
Right
there.
Come on, girl.
I can do this.
We got you.
I want you to talk about what people are missing out on when they say it's hard, whatever the goal is or the intention that they have for themselves, and they choose what is easy. And for me right now, I'm going to say they're sitting in a job that they don't like, but it has benefits and security, and all their passion, all they want is to write a book, but it's hard. So they're gonna sit or open a business or do whatever that's gonna take them away from this stable thing. Can you talk about what they're missing out on? Because this thing over here that has the stability, that's a benefit. That's a good thing. So what are people missing out on when they sit in the it's hard?
Nothing.
Oh.
I don't think they're missing anything because that's a comfortable cop out. This is not the first light heart that they had, and they're just not willing to do what it takes or the small steps or however long it's going to take. So it's just an easy go-to for them to be like, oh, it's just too hard. I can't find the time. I can't do it. Or this happened. Or I'm going to start. I'm going to stop, whatever it is. And, I had this one client, I really thought she was going to hit me when I said this to her, because she said to me, she goes, I'm never going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And we had went through this a couple of weeks. And the last time I said, you're absolutely right. Because if you don't believe that you're going to do it, I can't change that. Remember, I talked about you say what you think, what you believe is who you become. It's so very true. So I'm not coming from a negative space. I'm just coming from a realization that people have to want to take the plunge. It's scary. We've all had to do it. I'm terrified just about every day, about different. Yeah. I have to hire somebody new, and I'm just like, but I know that I can't move on unless I do that, right? You have to take risks. And as a person of faith, I know that I can take risks. But to answer the question, I do feel like people are missing out on anything because they weren't going to do it anyway.
Mm.
But if you're intentional about doing something, and if you know that you are lacking in an area, then you will go and seek out help. Listen, I'm not great in this area. Can you help me? What do I need to do? What little steps can I do? Let me do something differently every day. I am going hard in pain, but can we do something? But because, and I'm thinking of someone I know in particular, so I might be speaking to her in general. But there's been so many wonderful brain projects that have come out, start really hard. And then when it actually gets challenging, instead of using the word hard, when it gets challenging, it falls and it stops. And then the excuses, which are, as my pastor says, excuses are lies. Then the excuses come into play. And next thing you know, I was like, it wasn't for me anyway. I didn't really want to do that. But you wanted to do it January 1st. You made 100 goals to do it. You know what I mean? So I just feel as though if somebody is really serious about doing something, they will do whatever it takes to make it happen. Mm. I don't mean to be the mean girl, but sorry.
Well, I was going to say that I can relate to your question, Shannon, because when I decided I was going to leave being a full-time doctor to be a life coach, that was really hard. I like to think I had those golden handcuffs, right? What am I going to do that I can make as much money and have as much stability and have all of those things? And it was very hard, but and I had a coach, and the only way I could do that was by having a coach. And she basically explained it to me. She's like, I have this beautifully wrapped gift for you. It's beautiful. Everything you ever wanted is inside of here, but you have to reach out and take it. How much do you want this gift? How big is it? In the back of my mind, I knew that there was something else that God had placed in me that the world needed, that there were souls that I was supposed to serve. And that feeling and not wanting to get to the end of my life and not have fulfilled a purpose that God placed for me was bigger than the heart of it. So yes, I had to figure it out. Yes, I had to, redo my budget. Yes, I had to make financial sacrifices. Yes, I had to listen to people say, well, why would you do that? Or so all of those things that felt hard, I had to get through them, and I had help getting through them, but it was worth it to get to the other side. And what I would have missed out on, I just reflected on my first year in being in business, and I looked back at the pictures It was just so amazing. I was able to be intentional about how I spent my time. I was able to work from my trip in South Africa and Zimbabwe. I was able to be present for my kids at their lacrosse games, which I was never able to do before because I was always working weekends as an urgent care doctor. It's just priceless, priceless what I gained from doing the hard thing.
Mm. Mm.
Mm.
If the goal, and I think Eleanor Roosevelt said this, if the goal doesn't scare you to death, it's not big enough. And I remember as a young entrepreneur, there was an opportunity that was available to me to invest in a program. And I actually thought I was having a heart attack, but it was a panic attack because I was like, I don't have this money. And I got so emotional. I was on the phone with a friend of mine and I was so emotional. I said, I don't know if I can do this. And she said, what'll happen if you don't? I said, I'll never know what I was able to do if I don't do this. And that drove me with so much passion. I thought it was fear, but it was actually passion for that burning desire to do more, be more, have more, and not from a financial standpoint, but from where I was in my life, which was a pretty decent place. But what more could there be? And if I didn't cross that threshold, I would never know. And now I'm here. Right? And it goes back to those seeds we sow and what we harvest from the seeds we sow and the relationships and what becomes available. And I just had a call today. It's the last thing I'll say because I know we're running out of time. I was just on a call today as a lead coach for a program at a major university. And I've partnered with the individual that I met in that program years ago. Come on now.
Yeah, full circle, full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. All right. Well, as we are winding down a little bit, I would just love to hear, I'd love to hear each of your encouragement in talking to people who are stepping back or stepping on to the path of their intentions and setting their intentions for the year for the first time. Like, what do you have to say to encourage them?
Be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself. And again, one step at a time. One step at a time, and believe in yourself. You know, the I am statements, you know, everything that we talked about, you know, wrap it up, put it on a piece of paper and do it, you know, little by little. You know, Coach Reggie said, you know, it can take up to 66, weeks to create a new habit, you know, so understanding that, giving yourself the time to do it, but just really being diligent and, you know, really just being intentional to do things, one thing different every day, one thing different. And when you don't do the one thing, give yourself some grace, dust yourself off, get back on the horse and do it again tomorrow. You know, you just got to just keep at it.
Yeah, I would say something quite similar, which is, you know, there are things as second chances and third chances and fourth chances. You know, I love the Aaliyah song. If at first you don't succeed, pick yourself up and try again. You can dust it off and try again, try again. That's my song.
Yep.
Let that
That's
be your song. Let that be your song. Pick yourself up and try again. Don't stop. When you stop, get back on the bus.
I'll piggyback on that and say that I don't believe that there's a such thing as failure. I have redefined that for myself. It just means that I was blessed with an opportunity to do it once, and now I'm blessed with another opportunity to do it twice, a different way, because I've learned from the time that I did it before. I gained the experience, I gained the knowledge, and there's no such thing as failure. So I'm not afraid of that.
There you go.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen.
The one thing I would say is get supported.
Mm.
If you're doing something that's scary or you think is hard, you haven't done before, or you did before and it didn't turn out the way you thought it would or you wanted it to, get supported.
Mhm.
I just want to add one thing. It's in the back of my mind. And for whoever's listening, I just want to say this: remove the naysayers from your life.
Mm-hmm.
Remove
Bye.
the naysayers from your life. Surround yourself around like minded people. Surround yourself around people who will tell you the truth. You don't want people who are going to yes you to death. But the naysayers are ones who are embedding their own fears onto you. And oftentimes we do absorb those. So just really remove the naysayers. You can do whatever you want to do. You can.
Mm-hmm. All right, friends and family, if you are watching, I encourage you just to put your comments, your happinesses, your joy, what you're taking away from this discussion, your thanks to all of our panelists into the chat. We would love to hear from you and what you're thinking. If you enjoyed this discussion, we are at the beginning of a year. So you have at least 11 more of these to come to. We also, next month, we have the Heart of Our Culture, Black Arts and Artifacts. And that's on Wednesday, February 22nd from 7 p.m. to 8:45 Eastern. And we would love you to join us for that. Ikrama spoke about this very early in our program this evening, and that is the Pieces Collective weekly walk for wellness. That's every Sunday at 7:30 Eastern. We would just love to have you. As always, thank you to our panelists again for your insights. Thank you so much for being here. It's uplifting to be in your presence. And I feel like, okay, I know that there's someone out there who was listening, who had their arms crossed, who has uncrossed their arms. It wasn't me. It was somebody else. It wasn't me. But I want to thank our panelists. I want to thank Ikrama Muhammad and Karen Freeman. Thank you so much for gathering us together at the Pieces Collective. And of course, to you who are in the chat for joining us. We can't do this without you. Thank you so very much. Happy New Year. And we'll see you next month on the Pieces Collective.